30 minutes before a ceremony to spread his wife's ashes on her gravesite, a Hernando County man found a disturbing piece of paper. A cremation certificate was tucked inside an envelope that came with the ashes. It was for another woman. He says he didn't get answers from the funeral home, and that's when he knew he'd better call Behnken. Investigator Shannon Behnken joins me now. You've done some disturbing stories before, but this is one that just makes me puzzled for the man and for whoever might else have some other ashes. It's very disturbing.
And he's struggling with this. He kept these ashes in a canning jar because his wife loved canning. He wanted to remember that. He wasn't quite ready to get rid of them and spread them yet. But now he said he's finally ready to spread the ashes, and now he has an unimaginable doubt about the remains.
She canned all the time.
For 3 years, Charles Crouch cried over these ashes. Now he has daunting uncertainty as to whether these ashes are actually those of his wife, Queet Crouch.
Hey, I've grieved over them for 3 years, and you know, I would like to know.
Just before he was set to spread the ashes in Iowa last month, his friend opened this envelope that came with the remains.
And she opened it up. She said, "Good God, this might not be your wife's ashes. Here it says it's not."
The outside reads deceased, Queet Crouch, but inside is a different story. This certificate says, herein are the cremated remains of another woman. And here's what really freaked him out. Cremation number 10341. It matches the metal tag around the bag of remains for Mrs. Crouch.
So that killed everything. You know, I couldn't spread the ashes, and it's a mess.
He called Spring Hill's Pinecrest Funeral Chapel and was assured that the remains are his wife's, but insists he got little compassion or explanation.
She said that it's probably just a mistake on paper. And I said, well, maybe it is, but maybe it's not.
Crouch turned to me to help him find closure. I went to the funeral home and spoke on the phone several times with the owner. He wouldn't go on camera, but assured me this is only a typographical error. So I turned to state regulators.
It would have thrown anyone back into a state of grief, and we are concerned. Does anyone believe that this was intentional? No, but absolutely a mistake was made.
Investigators reviewed the funeral home records and believe the remains are Mrs. Crouch, but the investigation as to how this happened continues.
Now, state investigators were able to match the cremation number with a permit number, and that permit number was filed with the state, and it matches the cremation for Queet Crouch. State officials called Mr. Crouch this morning to give him some reassurances, and he tells me he does feel better knowing that state officials went in and looked at all of this, but he still says that his memory is tarnished, and he will always have some doubt.
I don't blame him. You said that you spoke several times to the owner on the phone. I mean, any explanation there? I mean, a clerical error is one thing, but I feel like Mr. Crouch, this is sketchy.
Yeah, well, Mr. Crouch definitely feels that way. Now, the owner tells me that this definitely was just an error and has nothing to do at all with the remains and identifying that. And he's really upset that this has become a big issue. He says he's made all the assurances to Mr. Crouch, and, you know, he should have believed him and looked at the records, and he insists that he didn't do anything wrong. But like you said, there's always going to be some doubt there.
That lingering doubt.
Yep.
That's unfortunate. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Shannon, very much. If you have a problem that needs solving, you better call Behnken. The number is 1-855-BEHNKEN.